Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 78 of the Beginner to Master Speedrun. So I'm coming into today, rated 2337, and let's have another day of instructive chess, and I'll hop into the first game. Okay, first opponent, playing 7 Victor 7. And I'm going to play e5, but I'm not going to go for a staff or gambit. If knight f3, I'll play knight c6. Bishop c4, I'll play knight f6. And we have the start of a bishop's opening. And this is basically now a Vienna. White plays d3. This is relatively popular. Now against d3, I like to play knight a5 and usually just get the bishop pair as quickly as possible. White's playing f4, which I can't recall if I've ever studied this specifically. It's an interesting move order, maybe attempted Vienna Gambit. And the first thing I'm wondering about is knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d5. Can I just go for the center fork trick? I mean, there is bishop f7. King f7, knight takes e4, d5. I think that's okay. I mean, knight g5, king g8. Looks okay. I don't want to burn too much time here, but this is already like a new position for me. Knight takes e4. Let's go for it. Always got to be careful when you snag a pawn like this, and the f7 could be a target. Have to watch out for these moves. But I think everything's okay. There's definitely a time in my chess career where I would see a move like this and then be too afraid to play it. But I think the general rule is if you see a move like this and you don't see anything wrong with it, then you should play it. And if it goes wrong, then I'll learn something. But yeah, looks like we're going into this line. Queen h5 doesn't really hurt me. I have pawn g6 there. And now pawn d5, just double checking. But this looks pretty solid. Like, even though I've lost casting rights, I'm taking over the center, getting some initiative. And the knight might end up getting kicked around. Yeah, king g8. My queen h5 is a mate threat, but then I have pawn to g6. And meanwhile, I'm not entirely sure what to expect from white. So pawn can't take, because then I win the knight. If knight f3, probably pawn e4. Queen f3 is actually kind of interesting. There's a line, queen f3, e4, and then knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, queen b3. And black is getting mated along the diagonal. But I think that should be good for black after queen f3, e4 takes, I have queen e7. So white plays d3. Now, I mean, h6 is a natural move. Would likely provoke knight back to f3. Could maybe start calculating like knight f3, e4, takes, when we trade queens. I guess with d3, white is maybe ready to take because the knight is reinforced. I'm also calculating h6, knight f3, bishop g4. Let's say h3, I take, e4. Because then after takes, my rook's defending the queen, we trade queens. It's a big trade. But in the very end, like, let's say we trade queens, white plays this, I play this. And then knight c2 is very hard to stop. Yeah, let's play h6. I might end up going for something else, but At least there's one line that I think is pretty appealing for black. And again, I don't think I want to play this right away. And bishop g4, I mean, I'm not so crazy about trading off the bishop, but I do like the prospect of getting initiative. I also like the prospect if white takes here, I take back, and then there's pressure against the pinned knight, which white goes for. Just looking at other options. Queen e8 runs into d4. So I guess h3 might be coming next. Bishop f4, okay. So what to do? Definitely options here. I could play bishop d6. This takes, knight still pinned, b2 would be hit. With bishop d6, I'm threatening knight takes f3. So that actually looks pretty good. Another move is to take, let's say knight takes and then queen f6, hitting the bishop and the pawn, and repairing rook e8. That also looks really good. You have to choose between two good-looking options. I think this is a bit more forcing. Let's go for this. Queen f6. Now I'm getting the queen active and getting tempo on the bishop. I mean, I might end up winning the pawn, but I also might end up just destroying the white king. The dark square bishop is ready to come in as well. And it might be difficult for white to castle in time. And white can legally castle here, but has to save the bishop first. And if queen d2, I'd probably start with rook e8. Or even taking. Yeah, this looks pretty difficult for white to keep everything under control. Queen c1 is another attempt to defend, but I mean, there's just so many targets between the king, the bishop, the pawn, the knight, the queen. It's also nice having the two bishop advantage in such a position. Well, he plays bishop e5, which I did not even see coming. But I might be winning material here. Because I can take on f3. If white takes back on f3, I take the bishop. And if white takes the queen, I take the white queen. And I'll be up a bishop in the end. So, yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. Maybe I could have started with rook e8, but rook e8, there'd be d4. So, yeah, now it's a spot where both bishops are hanging. If white takes and I take on f6, and if white saves the bishop, I save my bishop. So I'm curious to check the opening with the engine after the game and see if white maybe could have played better, if I handled it in the best way possible. But overall, I'm happy with what just transpired. Doing fine on time. So now it's a matter of just converting the advantage of the extra piece. Still want to develop. Sometimes opening principles can still apply in the endgame. Bring your pieces good squares. And I think the main strategy is to simplify. Like if we can trade rooks, then life becomes easier. And I think I'll just go for the double up on the e-file. If I can play rook h e8 and rook e2, that would be nice. Yeah, white's covering the second rank. But I'm really just improving thus far. King is probably a little bit happier on g6, not aligned with a rook battery. Now I probably want to advance on the queen side, like c5, c4. If I play this and d4 happens, I'm going to play a5 first, just fixing white's pawn. Now c5. I'm really just waiting for white to give me some opportunity to break through. I'm actually considering the move d4, because if takes, there's bishop b4, and then I'll get in rook e1. Yeah, let's go for this. A pawn sacrifice. Somewhat of a positional sacrifice. Just want this square for the bishop. Okay, white doesn't take it. So maybe I can align with the rook. Now threatening to take, hitting the king and rook. And this rook is kind of stuck, preventing rook e2. So white would maybe like to play rook f5, but that just allows me to infiltrate. Although maybe rook f5 is possible. Rook f5, rook e2, king d1. My bishop and pawn are attacked. But I'll have options. I might be ready to take, maybe rook b6. So white moves a rook back to g2. Now rook g6, or rook to b6 actually looks appealing. Attacking the b2 pawn. Yeah, trying to poke and prod white's weaknesses. Now maybe I can take, and then bishop a3, threatening rook b2. It doesn't seem easy for white to prevent. King goes back, then I have rook b1, winning the rook. Okay, so rook b1 is played. Now I can take, and then infiltrate with my rook. It's definitely an accomplishment trading off a pair of rooks. It still takes a little bit of work. I go after the a pawn. Now threatening rook a3, and then take on a4. Yeah, and once white's a pawn is gone, now my a pawn is a passed pawn. Can I generate mating ideas? Like eventually bring my king in? I think it's kind of slow. Let's just move to a1 with the rook. White's probably going to go for c4, c5. Actually, maybe there are some mating ideas here. I'll start with bishop to b4. And if I can get in rook e1 and c6, that would be checkmate. I mean, white's probably going to play c5. Or not. Okay, I'll play rook e1. Will white prevent the mate in one threat? White does, unfortunately. So what do I want to do? a4, rook b2. Oh, then I can play a3 actually. Looking for a cleaner way. I'm gonna play pawn c6. I'm gonna make the king commit to either d6 or c4. And then I think it's just safer to go after the d pawn. Yeah, rook to d5 here. If I plays pawn d5, I play rook d4. And there's no rook d2, rook f4, we just trade. Yeah, sometimes these endings where you're up a full piece, there's multiple ways to win the position, and just want to try and keep things simple. Give the opponent no source of counterplay. I'm staying up on time. I didn't want to play rook d1, allowing the king to come to e6, attack f6. So, okay, I'll take on d4. And take on c5. I don't mind that I'm losing the c-pawn. I wonder how many people would play this thinking that they're winning the rook on f2, but blundering the bishop. Let's put the bishop on b4. This is an indestructible setup. Bishop defends pawn, pawn defends bishop, and white resigns. Okay. So pretty clean game, it felt like. But interesting opening. And I mean, this is a very common position in which I don't think I've really ever seen this move, pawn f4. Usually white plays d3 to prepare f4. But the engine does not like this move because of, I think, what happened in the game. Knight takes e4 is the best reply. And after bishop f7, king f7, knight e4, d5. Yeah, it's just a good position for black. Because white really has no way to exploit my king. And I already have the center, 2 bishops, and initiative against a knight. And the play did flow pretty nicely. Though the engine likes pawn takes pawn in this position, which I didn't really consider because this allows white to develop. And then it says queen e7, knight e2, bishop g4. Perhaps another way to play. But yeah, I went for pawn h6 and yeah, still kept the advantage. I just want to show the line I was calculating because it seemed natural for white to play h3. But after takes, push, takes, knight e5, knight d4. Yeah, the engine approves of this. Black is probably going to win c2. Best move is rook b1 for white. So I'm happy to have spotted a somewhat deep line there. In the game, my opponent went for this. And yeah, life was very good after queen f6, especially after bishop e5. So, okay, nice game to start the episode. Up to 2341. Let's keep it going. I'll do another. Next opponent, playing Silly Snail. Around my rating, I'll play e4. Last episode, I had a couple crazy London Gambits. Now we're going back to King's Pawn territory. Knight f6. Do I dare take and allow my opponent to play a Stafford? I'm going to play a 3 knights. Maybe we'll have a 4 knights. I'm feeling in the mood for a 4 knight Scotch, which I don't think I've played too much of this speedrun, but it's an opening I played from both sides. Bishop b4 is the main line. Take on c6, play bishop d3. And in this position, I think the overwhelmingly most played move is taking, but I'm going to play a small sideline, bishop to d2. And this unpins a knight from c3. I think very often black will throw in castling, after which I'll do the same. And I learned this line about a year ago. I played this for the first time in a serious over-the-board tournament. It was a Qatar Masters. The last round, I beat a higher rated player with it. And It's a little bit offbeat compared to the more standard main lines. There are a lot of different moves for black in this position. There's a few different ways to take the pawn. There's bishop takes c3 and then taking the pawn. There's rook b8, which I think is one of the best moves. There's also rook e8, which walks into a slight trap. I think rook e8 is very slightly dubious because there's a cool response, knight takes d5. And the tactics kind of work out for white. So we'll see what black comes up with here. Good sign my opponent's taking time, so they're probably out of any sort of opening prep. Bishop g4. And bishop g4 looks playable. I can't remember having studied this, but it looks very natural to play f3 here. Just save the queen, attack the bishop, and then maybe play e5 next move. I do kind of weaken this diagonal, but I think this is justified. Am I scared of pawn takes pawn? Could get a little bit messy after takes. But I think the resulting position is quite fine for white. Yeah, let's go for f3. There's a lot of cases where if black trades on e4, then these are going to be double isolated c-pawns, and then just a bit weaker going into the endgame. It's very possible black will play this move. I probably take back with knight. It seems like the calculations can branch out a lot, because then there's knight takes knight, there's bishop takes bishop, there's even queen d4 as a resource for black, which probably isn't too much to worry about. Like b2 would be undefended, but okay, the bishop is still attacked in many lines. I guess I should imagine, like, if the bishop retreats, let's say to h5 or e6, then I'm probably ready to play pawn e5. And the pawn on f3 does a nice job restricting the knight. Pawn e5 would probably provoke knight d7. I guess the knight could reroute to c5. It could definitely get double-edged. Maybe I'd go for the eventual f4. If bishop goes to h5, maybe I start with queen e1 and then f4 and try and attack on the king side. It feels weird being up so much time so early in the game. But I think it's more common, like at the higher rating levels, that opponents will take more time. Because I've seen like around the 1900 to 2000 rating level, players move really, really quickly in 10-minute chess. But this opponent, I think, realizes that it is a critical moment. There are options. But sometimes it's a balance between taking time in the critical moment and saving time for the rest of the game. Opponent's still thinking. I'm up now about 3 minutes on the clock. And I'm trying to stay focused on my opponent's time and predict what might happen. I guess there's bishop c5 as a candidate move. Then king h1. I think that only helps me. Because then the bishop, like, even though it kind of pierces through the position, it doesn't apply as much pressure to me. It also takes away the c5 square from the knight, which could be useful in some cases for black. There's pawn d4, which I don't think will happen. On d4 I could probably take and then end up being up a pawn. So opponent is below 5 minutes. And takes on e4. Yeah, I think this is the best move. And I mean, I think my only option here is to take. Like, I don't see any other appealing options. Like if I take, that should be good for black. There's taking with bishop. But I don't want to concede the bishop pair. Do I have to be careful of knight takes? Wait a minute. What do I do after knight takes? Because my bishop's hit, and there's queen d4. But maybe I just take on b4? Let me take a moment. Takes, knight takes, bishop takes b4, queen d4. I have to play king h1. There is knight f2. But then I take, and take, and I have two bishops for a rook. And if black takes the bishop in that line, I take on g4. And the queen can't take on b2 because it's defending the knight. I would just take on e4. And that should be okay. Yeah, I wonder if my opponent like spent all that time calculating these similar lines. Because it is pretty forcing. Like after takes, I don't think I can take on g4 because my bishop on d2 is attacked. Black goes for this. Now the other option here is to take on e4 with the bishop. Lose d2, win g4. Could lead to a lot of trades. But let's double check this line. Bishop takes b4. I am hitting the rook. Like all these pieces are hanging. Queen d4, king h1. I'm not getting smother mated. Yeah, let's go for this. Yeah, thankfully my rook is on f1. Otherwise I would be getting smother mated. Now I do have a choice, actually. I could take on e4 or g4. I was mainly calculating taking on g4. But this also has some merit. Like hitting the c6 pawn. I think taking the bishop imbalances the game more. Opens f-file. Material will be equal. I still am leaning towards this move. I'm not 100% sure. I guess if I take, there's rook d8. And queen f3 runs into knight d2. But then I have queen f4. Yeah, it could get kind of weird. So I take on g4, rook d8, queen f3, knight d2, queen f4. Okay, I'm going to take. This was my first impression. And even though the knight looks strong in the center, it's also kind of a liability for black. Because the queen is currently tied down to it. Black can't easily establish the outpost because now I have a pawn on g4, preventing f5. And there's this really nice line, because rook d8 looks like the most natural move here to pin my bishop. But then after queen f3, I willingly get forked. But then I play queen f4. And I take advantage of the fact that queen on b4 is undefended. Black has no time to take the rook. And if queen takes f4, I take back. And the knight is left on d2, completely stuck. So I guess I can say, oh no, I'm getting forked. Someone maybe call an ambulance. And there's also queen f5 to threaten mate, or queen h3. So there's a lot of nice counterattacks. Here, the c-pawn is hanging. But if I take it, then b2 or g4 is hanging, but then c7 is hanging. Knight e6 is a good sign. Now the bishop is really well placed, restricting the knight. Concerning this, I guess there's g6. Yeah, I think I'll just go and win the pawn. And whatever pawn black takes, I think I just take on c7. And then a7 is weak. I'll have a pass c-pawn. And also, in such an open position, especially with all the center pawns traded, the bishop, I think, is just better than the knight. Like, even if the knight was on a better square, like f6 or anywhere else on the board, I think the bishop is still just so useful because there's pawns on both the king side and the queen side. So life is good. I feel like I have the material advantage, positional advantage, and time advantage. And most of it stemmed from the opening. Another benefit of being well prepared in the opening. Sometimes early momentum can carry you through the rest of the game. I have a feeling this game might not end with checkmate. It might end with black flagging. I don't want to celebrate. I want to still stay focused. Let's take on c7. I'm not sure what to expect from black. Like, it's not easy to defend the a pawn. Maybe queen d4. Centralize the queen, defend and attack. If queen d4, I think I play rook d1. Although then, rook d1, queen digs b2, bishop h7, king h7, rook d6, queen d6, queen c2. Oh, but the rook is hanging in the end. So is that worth going for? I don't want to simplify completely. I also don't want to trade my knight for, or my bishop for knight if it's not necessary. Rook d1 takes. I could also just defend the b pawn. I mean, there's also a line, rook d1, queen b2, queen takes a7. And then, like, if rook a8, I play queen e7. Yeah, let's go for this. Wow. Honestly, did not see that coming. That's a clever move. If I take, then takes. Any tactics? Because I can't take back. Almost bishop d3, but then rook d3. Very clever. I think I should play queen f4. There's also... Oh, black's threatening knight f2. Let's be very careful here. Queen f4. Yeah, queen f4 looks pretty straightforward. Now the knight's attacked twice. And now I can take, and there's going to be this tactic. I think black is maybe realizing it. Okay, now it's just a matter of cleaning up. Look to simplify. I'll make Luft probably. Rook e2 is coming. Still looking for the most accurate way to play this. I'm going to start with rook to f4 to meet rook e2 with rook 4 f2. And then I'll probably play some c4, maybe put the rook behind the pass pawn. And the knight is kind of pinned to f7. Black moves the knight anyway. At some point I should make a Luft. But, okay, let's keep winning pawns. Knight f2, king g1. Yeah, just have to watch out for weird things with the knight and rook. But everything's okay. Maybe rook a1. Preemptively defending a2. I probably want to bring the other rook back to the f file. I know this looks passive, but everything's under control. I think now rook e1. And this should force some trades. Or not. Black actually avoids the trades. All right, let's push the c-pawn. I don't mind actually giving away the exchange. Although knight f4 is kind of coming. Black is being resourceful. Let's play rook f1, rook f2 coming. And this forces a trade of rooks. I probably could have done anything there and won on time, but I'm still trying to be precise and instructive. So nice game overall. Felt like another pretty clean win. Another game stemming from, I think, was a kind of early opening advantage. Played this slightly offbeat bishop d2 line. And yeah, I mean, I've played a lot of like strong players, even title players that start thinking in this position, not knowing what to do, haven't studied this before. The game I played last year over the board in Qatar, my opponent played rook e8, walking into knight takes d5. Like white already has a nice advantage here, because basically if pawn takes knight, then I take the bishop, and white has two bishops in a position that's opening up. And if bishop takes d2, I can take on f6, takes and takes. And even if black wins back the pawn, black's pawns are weaker than white's pawns. So yeah, it's just a line that has some venom to it. I think a lot of players underestimate. If we see what happened in the game, yeah, bishop g4, it's playable, but yeah, very quickly I got a nice position. This was one of the best lines for black. Now in this position, black should have played knight c5. Maybe to try and trade knight for bishop. Oh, and in this position, I played queen f3 very quickly. I actually played it in 2 seconds because I had calculated knight d2, queen f4. Oh, which loses for white. This is black to move. Find a winning move. Oh, it's good that I didn't walk into this. Black has rook d4 here. And my queen's hit. And my rook is hanging. And queen f5, it counterattacks, but there's just g6. And I'm losing material. Can I move the queen and play c3? Like if I move the queen, let's say f2. Knight takes f1, c3? Wow. Black has a nice counterattack. There's actually 2 moves that win. But the nicest is queen d6, threatening mate, making use of the knight on f1. The other winning move is rook f4, saving the rook and counterattacking my queen. I could have stumbled into a lot of trouble if I ran into knight d2, because yeah, rook d4 was not on my radar. And in this position, I actually missed a tactic of my own, rook f4, to pin the knight along the 4th rank. Somehow this rank was a blind spot for me. Yeah, rook f4 is very strong, and if rook f e8, black's a little bit stuck. The strongest move here, according to the engine, is queen f1, threatening f7 and setting up rook e1. Although rook e1 I don't think is a threat because knight g3. So if black plays this... Ah, the threat is a3 and the queen is kind of tied down. Okay. Again, some crazy engine lines that it's hard to see everything during the game. Yeah, after knight d6, then things were, I think, pretty smooth. Maybe I didn't play in the most accurate way. Engine says b3 here. I went for rook d1. And then, yeah, then this was all pretty smooth. Okay, so I'm up to 23-49. Let's do one more game to wrap up the episode. All right, next opponent playing Independiente. I'll play another King's Pawn. This time we have a Sicilian. I'll play knight c3. My favorite aggressive line against Sicilian, bishop b5. And g6. I'll take. And I'll go for the setup with d3 and f4. I don't think it matters too much what I play first. f4 will come next. I'm just trying to play the opening quickly, manage my time. I feel like I've had this sort of structure a lot throughout the speedrun. Typical Grand Prix attack setup with black having the double c-pawns. And I can go for the more positional play on the queen side or the aggressive play on the king side. I think I want to start with positional play. Play a4, preventing black from expanding. Might look to play b3, bishop b2. Black is maybe wanting to play pawn b5. That's interesting. I'll take a moment here. And there's a lot of different moves that come to mind, like rook b1, b3, like solid, but maybe a little bit slow. Bishop d2 comes to mind, e5, f5. f5 actually looks nice, because I enable bishop f4, which comes with tempo. I don't think I'm scared about black winning a pawn. Yeah, let's go for pawn f5. If black really wants to play b5, I'd rather just start focusing on the king side. And yeah, bishop f4 immediately looks nice. Have to keep in mind this move as well. And there's also like queen h4, bishop h6, knight g5, very common attacking idea. I guess the question is, do I want to throw in bishop f4? Provoke rook b7 or b6? Does that help me? I don't think it hurts me. Let's start with bishop f4. And simply developing with tempo. And yeah, now queen h4 looks nice. Not really scared of... Am I scared of b4? There is a line. Queen h4, b4, knight e2, b3. And d3 is a little bit tender. I could maybe play rook d1. Align the rook with the queen. Takes a4, I take back with knight. I'm going to play rook d1 here. I like this move as a very useful improving move, because I get off the diagonal. I discourage c4. Black takes the pawn. I do go down a pawn, but I mean, there's some nice looking options here. Pawn e5. I could start with queen h4. I think I'll start with queen h4. If takes, the D file opens. Black is playing really quickly. I guess there is rook d7. Queen b6, okay. And now I really just want to destroy the king side, especially with black missing the g-pawn. There's pawn e5 here. Pawn e5, if knight g4 I play h3. I don't think I'm scared of c4 check, king h1. There's maybe a line with knight e3. But e5, c4, here. I don't have to play h3. Could maybe play knight g5. Yeah, let's start with e5. Knight d5. Okay, now bishop h6. This feels really close to winning. I guess there's bishop f5 as a defensive resource. I could win back the pawn. I'm looking at rook takes e5 takes and then knight takes. Could take on b5 first. I'm leaning towards bishop h6 just to start with. But bishop f5. f5, knight g5, bishop g6. It's not super clear. Which is a little bit frustrating, but any other options here? Bishop h6, bishop f5. I take, queen g5, bishop g6. Huh. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Can I take here first? Even 94. I'm burning a lot of time, but what to do? Bishop h6, bishop f5. Take. I guess I just win back the pawn. Might end up losing the pawn though. Yeah, bishop f5 in so many lines is a very annoying move. Is there any way to stop it? We take first? I'm going to take first. This is not the move I really want to play. But black can't take back, and black has to choose now which thing to take. Now at least there's no bishop f5, and maybe I can migrate my knight to the king side. I'm not happy with burning so much time there, and now the queen's going to come in. I mean, knight g5. I think I should go for knight g5. And there's still a lot of pressure in black's position. Black's continuing to play lightning speed. So rook f3. Rook f3, h6. 94, I think is okay. I want to play rook g3. I know c2 is hanging, but I mean, yeah, the prospect of this still looks nice. King h7. Okay, rook g3. At rook g3, there's queen f5. Let's start with this. Trying to set up rook g3. Oh, wow. If I play rook g3, I think black can take the knight. Let's go for this. Might have knight f6 ideas. Queen g4. Take, take. And black's playing this well. Still looking for these ideas. Okay, f7 is hanging. Take, take. Let's start with it. d1's an issue. So I might play rook f3 next. Take. It's getting so tactical. Maybe knight f2? Knight f2, queen e6. Knight f2. 2 queen h5. Let's try this. So I attack and defend. If queen h5, I'm thinking at the very least knight f4. My rook's still hanging, but I want to take here. Let's do this. Let's a fork. "51 seconds. Position looks good. Not sure though. Ay, ay, ay. I think I spoiled this. Oh, I have this move though. But now what? I'm not seeing it. I think I'm going to lose. Yeah, black played really well in time pressure. Maybe I can stir up some stalemate trap. Praying for queen f1. Yeah, what to do? Good game. Oh man, my opponent played quicker, and I think I got a good position, but didn't leave myself with enough time. Let's take a look. I think that's the second loss of the speedrun. Opening was nice. Yeah, white has very pleasant advantage here. I mean, nothing huge, but slightly better. And visually, it looked very fun for white to play, but I probably just burned too much time trying to calculate concretely uh, without finding like a clear solution, and then that came back to bite me. Actually, taking on b5 was not a good move. Yeah, I took a long time here. It took over 2 minutes on this move. I wanted to play bishop h6, but like when I saw bishop f5, it seemed like black is surviving. Because once the bishop gets to g6, I'm not really targeting h7. Engine says white's better after knight g5, bishop g6, and then knight e2. Yeah, some of these lines are hard to consider because black has the idea of knight e3. It's not so obvious. Yeah, taking was kind of a panic move. And then going forward, that was clearly worse, even though it felt like I was still applying pressure here. b4. And black gave me some chances. Like, I think when my opponent played bishop takes e5, they missed rook f7. But it's not winning for me. King g6 was the best move. And I played knight f2, thinking that, yeah, I hit the queen, I defend, but queen h5, takes. I'm actually surprised white's not, like, significantly better here. Just with a king on g6. But my knight's misplaced. Okay, c3 was a mistake. At this point, I have 51 seconds left. And queen g3 was not the right move. Engine says takes. Let's say takes back. Yeah, I should really just try and make loot for my king. Allow rook b1, play king h2, and then try and attack. And queen g5. And now I'm just losing. Even though it looks like I have this tactic, my rook is hanging on f4 and my pawn is hanging on b2. So yeah, at this point it's just hopeless. And yeah, the back rank as well. Queen c1 is actually a mate threat. And I didn't have any time to set up any stalemate trap. I did have time to get checkmated though, so what to do? Good game to my opponent. I am now down to 2339. Yeah, the road to 2400 is not gonna be easy, but we'll try and stay positive, take away the lessons, especially from the losses. And yeah, I think I'll end it there. Hope you guys enjoyed the games today. If you have questions, leave them below, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Stay tuned.